I am going to talk more in depth of the pieces of a 1911 and why I like what I like and my ideals as far as 1911s go. And I'm adding notes as I go along because I just had another thing in my mind. And it was one that I missed for some reason. So, I'm going to start at the beginning. Bear with me, I'm sick. I've been having a really rough time at life lately. I'm trying to keep myself together in a lot of ways, actually. And I'm starting to think that my videos are my way of escape, so to speak. So, the ubiquitous 1911 was the brainchild of John Moses Browning, but it was not an immediate design. So, my handy-dandy notepad here that I have all these notes on. The 1911. A few years ago, late 1890s, matter of fact, John Moses Browning, who was an aspiring firearms inventor and to become a legend in the industry, decided to make a truly reliable automatic loading pistol that would carry a decent sized bullet and have the ballistics that, if not better than what were available in revolvers at the time, with the added benefit of not having to have a rotating cylinder or have more rounds at disposal. So, now at the time, the revolvers of the day were like 4 or 5 shots. There were not a whole lot that were in the 6 range. So to have an automatic loading pistol that could have 6 or 7 rounds was a big thing. So they came out with, after some time developing and trying things, it came out with the John Moses Browning designed 1902 model. Model of the year 1902. Over the next few years, they had continual improvements. Some were significant. There were some small failures, i.e. the sight safety. If anybody knows the history, one of the 1902s, the actual sight when you pressed it down was what turned off the safety. When you pressed it up is what turned it on. That was changed finally to the actual grip safety and the slide safety. So there was a lot of things that went into when the 1911 came out. So he got rid of the sight safety and had continual improvements until he came out in 1911 with the model of the year 1911 SUF auto-loading pistol in 45 ACP. He had had other calibers before that, but people wanted to have a 45 long Colt type caliber in an auto-loading pistol, and that's why he came out with the auto-loading pistol cartridge. And it was a very significant thing because there were a lot of people that were designing auto-loading pistols, but they were really not very good. And he was competing side by side with quite a few other people, including Weatherby, believe it or not, who, if they had manned up, so to speak, and done what they needed to do to make their designs right, they could have surpassed Browning's design. So, excuse me. So, he was really lucky that he got what he got because the company that was competing with him when he came out with the 1911, they failed miserably. They had so many reliability issues. I don't remember now what company it was. I think yesterday I posted the video about the history itself. But suffice it to say, he was the one who won. And we've had the 1911 ever since. And, I mean, we're talking a long time. It's an enduring design because it works. Now, when they were first designed, he designed them to be loose for a reason, and for them to have interchangeability of parts because the military wanted to be able to have that so that they could take apart a bunch of weapons at a time, put them all back together, and they would run. But you fast forward a few years, other companies started making the 1911 model under license, Colt being the one that was the first major manufacturer. And they did an exceptional job. I will not deny them that. My first 1911 was a standard government model, non-beaver tail, regular post sights. It shot flawless. I put 15,000 rounds to that weapon. I paid $380 for it. I got $400 for it. So I can't fault them. The cost now for what they have is fucking retarded. So I don't buy Colt anymore. I don't like their marketing. I had a Springfield V10 after my Colt for 1911. I'd had a Ruger P85 9mm. I'd had a Makarov before my Colt. I've had a smattering of pistols here and there. I loved my Springfield, but the problem was that my Springfield was a 3-inch model V10 subcompact, which was a 5 or 6 round. Before any of the other companies came out with a 3-inch model 1911. And I had a bunch of gunsmithing done to it because it kept jamming. Now, it was accurate as all get out for a 3-inch, and the muzzle flip was very negligible because of the ports that it had. Because they came out in a V pattern and they pushed the barrel back down really well. But it would jam all the time, and nobody could figure out what it was. They re-ramped my barrel. They tightened up the lock for the magazine. They put an extended mag release with an oversized lug in there. That didn't help. After all that time, I had sold it at a gun show and got a Glock 21, which I still have to this day. Great weapon. Got 25,000 rounds to that sucker. Hasn't failed me once, except with bad ammo. I found out from the new owner at that time, a month and a half after selling that weapon, that the only reason it was jamming was because of the fucking magazine springs, and nobody could figure that out. So I paid $600 for a Springfield that was great. Came with 2 magazines, the holster was already included, all that shit, right? But I had $600 in gunsmithing done on that thing. None of it worked. It was a $12 fucking mag spring. So I will never, ever buy Springfield again in my life. So Colt, Springfield, gone. Now, I bring back some other companies' names. One that's been around for quite a while. Made in America. They do get parts from other countries, but they're good. And that's Kimber. Now, I personally detest Kimbers. No, they got a place. No, Springfield's got a good reputation. No, Colt's got an excellent reputation. They can all fucking kiss my ass. Okay? Now, I'll tell you why. Any company that has to advertise through people that shoot their pistols in competitions, and that's their main marketing ploy, or they do that and, oh, hey, you can carry this for personal defense, but there's no in-between that everybody person that wants to have a gun for home defense or concealed carry. Okay? Purely advertising for the competition aspect or the concealability aspect. None of that in-between area that a lot of us fall into. Okay? I don't like that. I don't like the fact that there's weapons makers out there that are conglomerates that buy from other companies so that they can make their quota of weapons. That also pisses me off. Now, I'm not bad talking them. I'm just saying that's what I feel, okay? The Philippines, Arms Corps, fantastic maker of weapons, but they also make a shit ton of frames and slides for those other companies that you buy from. So be aware of that. You can go get a $400 slide and frame from Arms Corps from the Philippines and have $400 worth of shit put on it and hand fitted, and it'll be like a $2,000 pistol all day long. No shit. It's like that in the industry. It's like that in the automotive industry. It's like that in many industries, okay? I'll give you a good example. my 1992 S10, it was a fucking Isuzu motor. It was the same goddamn truck as an Isuzu. And then with Ford, it was Mazda. With Mitsubishi, it was Dodge. Don't trust everything you hear. This is why I pay attention and research for myself, okay? So, I'm going to get into some of the specifics of what I believe based on experience, which is extensive in some ways. As an everyday person, I've shot over 50,000 rounds now of .45 alone since I turned 19. So, I have some experience in .45 and 1911. Now, here's what I'm going to go through. Frame and slide material. I will only ever have a steel upper and lower built 1911 because of the durability factor. I don't want to have to rebuild a 1911 after so many thousands of rounds like some people are willing to do. Why would I do that if I'm spending over $1,000 on a 1911 in the first place? That does not make sense to me. And if you get something that has an aluminum frame and a steel slide, or a steel frame and an aluminum slide, God forbid they are out there, you're subject to issues. So, I only do stainless or carbon steel, okay? Carbon steel is pretty good because they make tools, hardened tools with it, and you can heat treat it really fucking good. And you can forge it or you can CNC it with equal accuracy, but if you forge it, the heat treating process is a bit different. So there's durability characteristics that are even different within that. I hate aluminum. I will say that my V10 compact Springfield, the frame was aluminum and it was a steel slide. I learned that I didn't like the mating of two different metals like that. Not because of that weapon, but they don't feel right in the hand because part of it is heavier than the other part. Why would you want that? You want weight behind a weapon. So many of these weapons now, 1911 and otherwise, are made to be as light as possible. Fuck that. If you have to pull out a weapon, you don't want the thing bouncing halfway up in the air every time you fucking pull the trigger. And there are systems out there that have chosen to compensate for that by different recoil guides and mechanisms, and fuck all that noise. I can take a bone stock, iron-sided, steel frame, carbon or stainless, out of the box, bone stock Colt 45, open-sighted at 100 feet, and hit a 3-inch fucking target all day fucking long. Why? Because it's heavy. It gets back on point. They naturally aim better. Longer barrels and slides also aim naturally better, by the way. Snub nose anything is harder to get on target, even if you sight it perfectly. So, a lot of that has to do with the length of the barrel, making it go faster with the same amount of gas, and therefore flying a flatter trajectory to its target until it hits a certain range where it falls off. Beaver tails. I like a beaver tail because the standard grip safety, where it's just the stud that comes off the back, will allow the slide to give you web of the hand bite. My Makarov tore the fuck out of my hand. My P85 had a natural beaver tail that was made into the frame from the factory without being a frame safety. And when I got that and realized there was a difference, it was all over for me. I couldn't go back to something without some type of beaver tail involved. I like a fairly wide beaver tail, but not one that's wider than it should be. I like one that's Frenched into the tail of the handle nicely and not almost as wide as the grip. I feel that lends itself to taking some of the strength of the frame away. It's just a personal thing in my own mind. And the one on my personal 1911 is actually really well fitted. I prefer steels over straight steels over aluminum, of course. I know aluminum can be a fairly strong metal, but it still has lower durability ratings than steel all day long. I like my grip safety to have an extended beaver tail. I don't like a short beaver tail very much. There's some that are actually very abrupt. I just don't like that. I like to feel it coming over my hand because when I pull up and I pull, it's kicking back and it's immediately cupping the top of my hand, which is also another way of it stopping the muzzle flip that's normally associated with recoil. So to me, a longer extended beaver tail, I like more. I shot a Desert Eagle 50, for instance. Those things have a monstrous beaver tail built into them. Man, for a large ass caliber and handgun, they shoot nice. And because of the fact that it's a heavy fucking weapon and has that where it literally knocks almost straight back in your hand, they're so easy to aim. It's almost intrinsical. That's why I like the beaver tail like I do. Sight variety. Those glowing sights that are so popular now. On my Glock, I have True Glows, but even though they're aluminum, they're long sight radius. They're long, and it's grooved in the top only, and it's shoved in. It's not one of those ones that has like the double cut and it's sitting in there. I don't like that shit. Unfortunately, in order to get the price I did on my weapon, I had to acquire one that had that on it. I don't know why they're so popular. I know they're easy to sight, but I can do straight iron sights as good as I can with those. So I like a straight white dotted post in the front and a straight combat sight, dotted or not, in the back. I'm a double eye shooter. I aim down the slide more than I do down the sight. The sight is more of a reference point for me. It's just the way I was trained. Hammer style. Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Slide serrations, cuts. I kind of like angled ones. Forward or backward. Some people like them backward more. I like them kind of forward. I like them angled because I like the purchase that they have on my hand when I'm racking the slide, okay? And I'm going to give examples of this with my personal sidearm when I get to that point. I like bigger ones. Don't like the ones like the typical Colt ones where they're just the little tiny cuts. I don't like that because it doesn't get enough purchase in my fingers. I have very porous skin, and it needs something big to grip it. So, there's that. Trigger studs. Commonly known as the trigger to most people, it's actually the stud of the whole trigger mechanism, the face you put your finger on. I like a half moon. I like a shorter trigger. I don't really like the big meaty triggers that some people like. I've seen the stainless ones that have the checkering or the serrations in the front. I think I could probably swing with one of those. The flat ones that I've seen people have, there's just no way. I mean, I know your finger flattens out against that a little bit. I like to feel my finger come into a trigger stud. It gives me more of a tactile sensation. Now, that being said, in the last couple of years, I've lost the feeling in my fingers. So it's now a tactile thing in my forearm, but you still feel the difference depending on how your finger is touching such things. So it still goes for me. I just like a more skeletonized trigger. I know that their durability is a little bit different, but like even on mine, it's an ABS trigger, and I'm going to have that changed out. There's a couple things on mine I'm going to change because I'm going to get it to be my weapon, period, but it's going to take me time. So, then we go on to hammer style. I really love a lightened skeletonized stud because that kind of hammer, it's very fast, and with a firing pin, it's not the mass of the hammer that is making the firing pin hit the primer with authority. It's the spring itself that's throwing the hammer forward. It's not as imperative for weight and all that for the firing pin to detonate a primer. Especially if you have a Magnum firing pin, which comes factory in mine. So, mine's not quite that skeletonized type. It is a little bit, but it's more of the rounded kind. I'm willing to accept that. I don't want to change too much on mine in particular. It's a very exceptionally well-fitted weapon, so I really don't want to fuck with it too much. But I'm still going to get into that when I get to that point. It's firing pin style. Okay. Now we bring into another metal into account. Titanium. I love titanium. I do. Don't get me wrong. And I know it makes a really light firing pin. But titanium is soft. And over time it wears out quickly. So, I prefer a steel or tungsten firing pin. They do make tungstens. Now, the one I have is stainless and it's a Magnum, so it's already a little bit heavier in stock. I'm willing to accept the combination I have for now. But all in all, I don't like titanium springs. I don't like titanium firing pins. I don't like titanium hammers. That metal is malleable for a reason. It does not heat treat beyond a certain point. Never has, never will. So you will never ever see me get a titanium knife. Not a fucking chance. Anyway. Springs. Factory made or Wolf springs. It's a good topic of conversation because a lot of people really love Wolf springs. And I have to concur with them because the ones that are in my Glock are all Wolf springs. Now, in the defense of my Glock, and I know I'm talking about something different than the 1911, but I'm giving a point of reference here, so bear with me. The springs from the factory from Glock are not bad, but they wear out very quickly. So, I replaced both my magazine ones. I have Pierce grip extenders because I have big meaty fucking paws, okay? The firing pin spring, the springs in my trigger assembly are all Wolf. Now, I deburred and highly polished on my own my trigger assembly surfaces to approximate a 3-pound trigger pull or so in my Glock. It is not a modification, it is simply making things a lot smoother. That being said, I put 9-pound New York style springs in there so that it would even it back up to around 7 or so pounds. But it's so smooth you cannot tell. And you can do 20 pounds of pressure in the average finger anyway. So, it's not as apparent to me to want to have the trigger all that light. Tactically, in my mind, in a defensive situation, I want to have some control over whether the gun goes off or not. Because when you're in a tense situation and you've got to pull a weapon, you've got an opportunity to make some mistakes, whether you're trained or not. So, in my personal firearm, the standard springs are their brand that they buy. I don't know who they buy from. I know that their factory magazines, they get some of them from Metgar, which is a really good magazine company. But I bought a Wilson Combat anyway because the Wilson Combat 800 series magazines, oh yeah, they fit every 1911 out there. So, there's that. I like Wolf springs. I don't need them in mine because it's already got great factory springs. If I upgrade, it'll be way down the road. Magazines, factory or aftermarket. Here we fall right in line already because I already told you so. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you this anyway, just because of the fact that we're already at this point. This is the factory. See, it says Made in USA. It does not have the brand on it. This is an unbranded mag. I can almost guarantee you that this is a Metgar. Metgar or Magtech, one of the two. Probably Metgar. It fits and locks positively, but it has a little bit of play in it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a Wilson Combat. The tolerances on this thing are tight. you will see the difference in the pads here, okay? This one here, believe it or not, as big as it is, does not lock as positively as this because of the differences in where these side points are located. And if you'll notice, the factory mag one, how it's in that curve like that and it's short, look how much longer this one is. It locks a lot tighter and higher. So when I put this thing in my weapon, this Wilson one, this bullet is right in line with the throat of the barrel. It doesn't have to go up almost any ramp. So, it's pretty nice. So to me, if you want to get factory mags, by all means, factory Glock mags are great. If you have a Glock, but 1911 wise, I will always buy either Mec-Gar or Wilson Combat. I prefer Wilsons. And I know Ed Brown's and Dan Wesson's and the other ones are pretty good. But Wilson Combat, I'm sorry, Wilson came out with a lot of badass products. He had a lot of experience when he started what he was doing already as a gunsmith. I trust his shit. So, okay, now I have at the end of my list, and because I'm really retentive, it's all out the window now because I've already discussed it. The last thing on my list is why all of it. Okay, well, here's the why for me. And I'm going to demonstrate. The fruit. And it's going to be really silly to you. But people that are tactically minded will get this. Typical human being. Notice the color is yellow, right? Most people, they do through their lives. Now, that's all well and good if you want to do that. Not this motherfucker. If I walk into, and I have a video on this called Situational Awareness that you should watch. If I walk into a parking lot after getting out of my car, or out of a store going back to my car, if I'm walking down a sidewalk, if I'm walking to a bus stop, if I'm walking from the parking lot to my apartment, I am not I am this all the way, watching everything around me. Because you can't trust shit around you anymore. This world is becoming a dangerous fucking place. And I'm sorry, I don't care what laws they have in the books, I will never be a fucking victim. I'll tell you that right now. So, what you have is the wolf. Wolf, to me, is represented by red. These are not exactly red. The last time I did this, I did it on Facebook. I used Monopoly pieces, so bear with me. When you, as a human, walk through life, and the wolf sees an opportunity, they will not come one. They will come all. And they will throw themselves at you. Okay? They will do whatever they can, deviousness or otherwise, to make you a victim. They don't care about laws. They don't care about what they use. They'll do whatever it takes to make you the victim because they are looking for a quick fix for drugs, or they're looking to hurt you because they're fucked up in the head. A well-placed round from a 1911-45, or any weapon you carry, for that matter, that you're exceptionally well trained in, is going to end that. Okay? Now, I have all 8-round magazines. I have 2 of them so far. I have 10-rounders in my Glock. The way that I shoot, if I cannot handle you as a group or individual, if you attack me within those amount of rounds, then I'm fucked or I'm running. Because I don't take fucking prisoners when I attack. Especially in defense. And I'm a veteran of a fuckload of street fights. Street fights, bar fights, back alley fights. I've been through a fucking all. And the wolf will come at you. You will not expect it. And I'm getting older now. I'm not as mobile as I used to be. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've had my ass handed to me so many times that, well, guess what? My body don't like me no more. And it lets me know every moment. So, that's why I carry either a blade, baton, firearm. I'm not afraid to do it. I make no apologies for it. And if you're a liberal and you don't like it, fuck you. It's in my amendment, and I will do as I fucking please to defend myself. That's my viewpoint. Now, do I feel like I should be able to have an AR-15 in my house? Yeah. Do I want one? No. Because out to 100 feet with my 1911 or Glock, if I have you in my sights and you're attacking me, guess what? You're done. And like I said, if I don't within 20 rounds or i.e. 16 rounds, well, then I gotta fucking run anyway. So, in point on that one. So now I come to my weapon. Now tool of defense. I am going to show you, and I've made a video on this in particular before, but I'm going into much more detail. This is my STI Spartan. It's a 2006 King. Now, immediately, and yes, I have checked this already, one thing I don't like, and you've already heard me talk about it, see the front sight? I hate them. Absolutely fucking hate them. The other thing I hate on pistols, except for a Luger, you're looking at it right on the back. A fucking adjustable. I hate adjustable sights. I fucking hate them. They have small parts and they break. I don't care how fucking well they're made. Now this one is sighted in, out to 100 feet. So anything within that range, it's getting pegged. But I know that the Bomar type cut, I can get a nice fixed target and I can get a nice tall post on the front. I don't want too tall a post. I'll probably stick with it around this size, unless the combat fixed rear I get is a little bit taller than I might. It's already a hand-fitted match-grade barrel. It's already match-grade bushing, match-grade guide rod, nice strong spring in the hammer. It is skeletonized on both sides the same way, which is how they lighten this, which is why I really don't mind it, actually. It already has a outwardly extended slide release, slide catch. I don't like the backward extended. I like them extended outward. And it already has the semi-paddle extended slide safety. This one I don't mind because it's somewhat skinny but extended forward, and I can push it down fairly easily. It all has really good relative click to it. It is a stainless barrel, stainless guide rod. The spring, I believe, is a 24 pound. And actually, no, I'm wrong. It's a 20, but I want to put a 24 in it. And then, like I said before, the trigger stud, you'll notice how it's all skeletonized, but it's ABS. It does have an over travel in here, and I would have preferred a full dust cover frame, to be honest. I don't know that I'll change the grips. I kind of like the wood grips, but here's why I like this grip safety. Now, granted, it's not as long as some of the ones that I like, but you'll notice how it's got kind of like that same treatment like the hammer does. It's stylized in much the same way as this is in here. And it's in such a way that if you have it in a holster, it's not going to get caught. I kind of like that as a touch. Basically, it's kind of hard to explain for me how this weapon is. It's almost like the difference between a Viking shield and a Greek shield. Greek shields are really super smooth, rounded shields, where Viking ones are more made out of wood typically, or iron, and really just heavy duty and shit. This is the Viking. Now, it's got some rounding to it, a little tiny bit like that, but it's still got angularness. The thing I really like, though, is if you look on the serrations, this is actually curved up and chamfered at the edge and then cut into it. It's a really nice touch on both sides, on the front, and it's on the rear as well. I typically only like them on the rear, but because of the way this weapon's made, I like this. It's got a really nice radius on the top. The cut for the barrel is really, really good. I think that I might get a 460 Rowland conversion for it. I'm not quite sure. There's an easier to do one for the Glock. This gun could definitely take it. I like the fact that the mag safety is not extended. I don't like extended mag safeties. And this is you can hear the factory one, but it still drops nice. This mag release has a really strong spring though, so it's easy to actuate. The Wilson one has very little. It really locks tight, but still drops very freely. It has a slight bit of flute to it, and it has just a slight cut just for the bottom of the magazine. So it's really a well-made firearm for being the most basic of the STI brand. Now, why did I choose an STI? Well, I was looking at a couple different brands. I looked at the Remington R1 Enhanced, the Ruger SR 1911. I'm an Arizona boy. I could just drive up to Prescott and say, hey, I'm having an issue. I looked at the Taurus PT 1911. For its price, great weapon. I looked at user reviews, everything between Infinity Arms, Stryer Voigt, which is Infinity now, STI, and Wilson at Brown, Dan Wessons, which are owned by, I think they're owned by Magnum Research now. All these different brands for their reliability ratings, even the SIGs, the Colts, and here's what I found, and here's why I decided on the STI. STI was founded by two people, one of which left and founded Stryer Voigt, which is now Infinity Arms. Okay, the remaining guy eventually sold the company to his employees and retired. So now the employees of this company control everything from the manufacturer, production, to distribution, advertising, you name it. It is all in the hands of the employees themselves. I would give both my nuts and both my fucking large toes to be an apprentice in that place, let alone a full gunsmith, because these are top dogs. And just so you know, they also have about every single race you can imagine working there together. So not only are they awesomely invested in their product, but they get along as people and human beings. And they have a common goal. Now, here is why the Spartan is the bottom of the STIs. Oh, also, this right here, this angular cut, great for kicking the round out. I've only got 50 rounds to this thing. It pops it way the fuck away from you. It's so phenomenal, man. Got a Magnum ejector. It's fucking beautiful, man. It's an awesome weapon. I paid $7.55 out the door with the Wilson mag, which was like $30. Okay. Important to note, depending on where you go, the R1 from Remington, the Taurus PT 1911, the Ruger SR 1911, these are in the $700 to $900 range. Believe it or not, there's still some of them that sell up there. Even the PT 1911, some people sell higher than they should. This weapon before the Wilson mag was just over $700. Its reliability rating and user reviews, not magazine reviews, not reader reviews, user reviews, people that own this weapon and have had them since they came out as a weapon, it performs as good as most others companies in the $15 to $2,000 range. Okay, it also has the distinction of the STIs as being the only one that does not have the frame and slide handmade by them at their shop in-house. Every other one of their 1911s is done totally in-house. This is the only one that their parts are fitted into a frame and slide made by Guess Who Arms Corps. And it's a fantastically fitted weapon. It is a true hand-fitted, hand-tested weapon. The fit and finish is phenomenal. So, the only things in my concepts of the reality of why I do things the way that I do, that I will change. The sights, and probably the trigger. Other than that, I'm probably not going to do very much. I might crown the barrel. That's another thing I really didn't talk about. Crowning the barrel takes down some of the muzzle flash. It also kind of cleans up the look. I would like it to be more flush with the bushing, which I know Right Armory that's at C2 Tactical on the 10 can do that easily. I would really like, and I know it's asking a lot because they have to do welding to do it, but there are some companies that will make a full dust cover for a non-full dust cover slide, but they have to basically weld for about here, and then it comes in with it. I don't want to do that on this weapon. So, while it's something I would like to do, it's not going to happen. Typically would change the barrel on most of the factory 1911s before they started really coming into their own and making them enhanced from the start. But this particular one, it just really does not, it doesn't need anything. I can run it as is. The only things and reasons, excuse me, I'm going to change anything is because I want to. The sights are just no. This stud hammer is really kick-ass because of the way that it's skeletonized. And it's unassuming. And it matches the weapon pretty well. So I don't see a reason to change it, or the beaver tail. Now you'll notice that it doesn't go very far beyond my hand. Some of the other ones that I've shot and had, they go way out, and I really love them. But because of the forward nature of this particular 1911, the actual forwardness of it, which is not even the same as most 1911s, to be honest, and you wouldn't even think about it unless you shot a 1911 enough. It just lends itself to being perfectly matched with this weapon. I really do literally love this pistol. It's the first 1911 I've had since 2000, when I sold my V10 Springfield and got the Glock that I have had ever since. The only other thing I think I might change is the back strap, because you can interchange them. I wouldn't mind having a little more of a bump, just to have more of the classic angle to the hand to bump it up even more into the beaver tail. I may change that. I don't know. That's something that it's really subjective to me. The crowning and the sights are really prevalent in my mind. I would love to have a stainless trigger stud. I just don't like the ABS one. It breaks really clean. Don't get me wrong. Their trigger drops are fucking awesome from STI. It's only like, I think, maybe 3.9 or 4 pounds even. It's awesome. And I don't like, that's the other thing I wanted to discuss. Finishes. I know there's like the MP3s and stuff from Robar, Robbie Barkman's company, and they're all good. I don't mind like the Desert Tan, Desert Camo types. I don't find them necessary. And that's the thing with a lot of these pistols that they're pushing out now are like all shiny and silver here and two-tone this. Fuck that. Look at this thing. Okay, I might even get the like Cocobolo or Rosewoods instead of these grips. I like as blacked out a gun as possible. I don't want my presence of weaponry known until it is over. And when you see this pulled out, if you see it coming, it's going to be intimidating. If you don't see it, you're never going to see it because it's black. There's no two-tone except for the fact that I have these handles. And like I said, I'll probably get different handles. Everything on that weapon is